Welcome to this part 2 of Business Central MCP server. This one video is on configurations. If you haven't watched the first video, go to the description here and check it out. That's a prerequisite for this video. My name is Kenny Pontoppidan and I'm a program manager in the Business Central team. And with me I have Jens Møller Petersen.
And I'm the engineering manager in the runtime team in Business Central. And we're currently building the MCP server for Business Central.
Right, so prerequisites for this video is that you must have enabled your MCP server in public preview. That's under a feature management flag. And we have also covered in a previous video what this default MCP configuration is and what it can do and the tools it has. And in this video, we're going to talk more about named configurations if you want to go beyond the default. And that is needed when you do write scenarios. And for write scenarios, it's important to know the permission model, the authentication model for MCP. And fortunately, it's the same thing as you already know if you work with APIs. It's authenticated like an API, permissions, entitlements, everything is the same as when you use APIs. And the default configuration, it only grants read access. So it's not like you open up, want to try something out, and then the agent can just go wild on your data. It can only read data by default.
So we have introduced MCP configurations in order for you to be able to limit what you actually want to expose through MCP. Now, if you want something different than the default, then you need to specify the configuration when you set up the connection to the MCP server. The default connection or the default configuration gives you read operations. But with MCP configurations, you can add write, delete, etc. to specific API pages. When you set up the MCP configurations, there are a number of things you need to fill in. You need to give it a name and a description. Then if you look below, there is an available tools down here where you can select which pages you want to expose and then whether you want only to allow read access or allow modify, or delete, etc. So you now have the ability to decide exactly what data you are exposing. Now I want to dwell a little on what we have up here with dynamic tool mode and discover additional objects. We can either preload all the tools into the MCP server so that the tools are always available, or you can run in dynamic tool mode where you ask an action, which tools do you have available, and then it'll give you the list. So the moment you enable the dynamic tool mode, the tools are not available from the beginning, but they can be found using this action search tool that you might have seen in the default configuration.
And Jens, I think we have two ways of thinking of configurations. One is the kind of security boundary that you express here, but there's also this limitation of current language models, how many tools they can actually handle, right?
Yes. For instance, currently Copilot Studio supports up to 70 tools. If you look at all the API pages in the system, you can easily extend to more than 70 tools, particularly considering that read and modify are two different tools. Now, the Discover Additional Objects allows the MCP client to also find API pages which are not in your list below in the available tools. So the default configuration that you see actually corresponds to having no tools selected, but both dynamic tool mode and Discover Additional Objects set to true. Then, of course, you need to set the configuration to be active. And as an extra small security measure, we've added a button for you to allow create, update, delete. If you don't select that, everything will be read-only, which is a good way to ensure that you are not inadvertently changing data. So this is basically a summary of what you need to specify in Business Central configurations and how you identify it, which toggles are there, and the list of API pages.
And Jens, I think you just said etc., but important thing here is also bound actions.
Yes.
So it's not only CRUD operations, but anything in your API page that is exposed as a bound action or a method can also be called by the LLM or by the agent.
And this is exposed in exactly the same way as you would expose bound actions in normal OData APIs. So to summarize, compared to earlier where we were using the default configuration, we've added a few extra steps that are required to enable agents to write data. On the Business Central side, you need to create an MCP server configuration where you allow modifications and you add a tool that allows modifying through a given API page. And then on the Copilot Studio side, when you configure your MCP server connection, you need to specify that MCP configuration. So the idea with MCP configurations is that it gives you more control. So it allows you to start with low-risk, read-only scenarios, and then as you gain trust in the LLM's abilities, you can open up for select writable scenarios. You do that by choosing which API pages that are available and which actions you want to make available on those. And overall, you can always modify the configurations, which will then change the surface area that you're exposing to your AI flows.
So to summarize, the vision didn't really change since the last video. That's good, Jens.
Yes.
Yeah. It's still about making all functionality available to AI and agents. And of course, we want to make this in a secure, reliable fashion where the MCP protocol, we believe, is key. And with MCP configurations, both as a way to minimize or exactly cater what the agent is able to do, and reliable also making sure that it works in the common MCP tools.
And I also want to highlight that the MCP server is currently in preview. This is work in progress, and you saw make all functionality available. We have started with API pages and are going to expand from there.
So look for more videos later. Call to action. Compared to the last video, we have less things in gray. So expose new functionality in API pages if you want to use configurations. Start experimenting with different configurations, maybe also set up multiple connections, multiple agents, and with, as always, write about your experiences on social media and engage with us in the product group if there are things that are not working as expected. Some general resources, aka.ms/bcall is the link to the landing page with all aka links for partners. Especially for, if you're a partner, then the next link, aka.ms/bcyammer, is the sign-up link to Viva Engage. So make sure that if you were previously on Yammer or you wanted to, go here and sign up so that you are part of the new community around Business Central. It's also important with the next link, aka.ms/bc office hours, because we're going to do an office hour in January 2026 on MCP server. So make sure that you look for the date and the sign-up Teams link there. For LinkedIn, we think it's a good thing for you to follow the product group on LinkedIn. This is where we publish weekly news, what's going on right now and upcoming things and tips and tricks. And of course, YouTube is our main channel for videos. This is where you see this video and others, both, and also what's coming, tips and tricks, and what have you. So that's it, Jens. This is video number 2. Go watch, see the links for the next video and the previous here in the description. And that's all we had for you today. Thank you.
Thank you.